The quantum resonance chamber hummed with an otherworldly frequency as Nadia Blackwood adjusted the crystalline matrix, her fingers dancing across the holographic interface. The chamber's azure glow reflected off her dark skin, casting ethereal patterns across her face as she worked. 6 months of research on Helios 7 had led to this moment, the first successful quantum entanglement between organic and crystalline consciousness. "The patterns are stabilizing," she muttered, more to herself than to her research partner. "Thuron, are you ready for the next phase?" Thuron Vale, the crystalline being from the prismatic collective, shifted their translucent form in what Nadia had learned to interpret as anticipation. Their voice resonated directly in her mind, a symphony of harmonious frequencies. "The collective consciousness is prepared, Nadia, though I must admit there is uncertainty among my people about this merger." Nadia smiled, understanding their hesitation. The prismatic collective had existed in isolation for millennia, their crystalline forms housing consciousness far different from organic life. This experiment could change everything, proving that different forms of sentience could coexist and even merge. "Trust in the math, Thuron. The quantum equations don't lie." She initiated the final sequence, watching as streams of data flowed through the chamber. "Besides, with the Galactic Coalition breathing down everyone's necks about species segregation, we need this to work. We need to prove them wrong." The chamber's resonance peaked, and for a moment Nadia felt it, a brush of crystalline thought against her consciousness, alien yet somehow familiar. Thuron's form pulsed with internal light, their usually geometric patterns flowing like liquid starlight. Then the alarms began. Red emergency lights bathed the laboratory in crimson as station-wide alerts blared through the speakers. Nadia's hands flew across the interface, trying to maintain the delicate connection. "This isn't from our experiment. Something's wrong with the station." "Nadia," Thuron's mental voice carried an urgency she'd never heard before. "I'm detecting multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace, coalition vessels, and something else, something vast." Before she could respond, the station's AI cut through all channels. "Emergency Protocol Delta. Coalition forces have declared Helios 7 a restricted research facility. All personnel must evacuate immediately. This is not a drill." "They can't do this." Nadia began downloading their research data, her hands shaking. "We're an independent research station. We have rights under the Scientific Autonomy Act." Thuron moved closer, their crystalline form casting prismatic shadows. "Nadia, there's more. I'm receiving distress signals from multiple research stations across the sector. This isn't isolated. This is coordinated." The station shuddered as the first impacts hit. Through the laboratory's viewport, Nadia watched in horror as coalition destroyers systematically positioned themselves around Helios 7. But behind them loomed something that made her blood run cold. A massive, organic-looking vessel, its surface writhing with bioluminescent patterns. "The Hive," Thuron's voice was barely a whisper in her mind. "The Coalition has allied with the Nurax Hive, but why?" Understanding crashed over Nadia like a wave of ice. "Because they're afraid of what we've discovered here, the ability to merge consciousness across species. It threatens their control. Their whole system of keeping species separated and dependent on their authority." Another impact rocked the station, closer this time. Warning lights flashed as emergency bulkheads began sealing. They had minutes, maybe less. "We have to get to my ship." Nadia grabbed the quantum core, carefully disconnecting it from the chamber. "The data, our research, it's too important to lose. And you," she looked at Thuron, "they'll either imprison you or worse. The Coalition never trusted the collective." Thuron's form rippled with decision. "There are others like us, Nadia. Other scientists, other species who believe in unity rather than separation. If the Coalition is moving against all research stations, they'll need warning. They'll need hope." They made their way through the chaos of evacuating personnel, Nadia clutching the quantum core while Thuron used their abilities to interface with the station's systems, clearing their path and scrambling security protocols. They reached the auxiliary docking bay just as another blast rocked the station. Nadia's research vessel, the Quantum Drift, sat waiting. Small and unremarkable, it had been modified over years of independent research with technologies that the Coalition would definitely not approve of. As they approached, a familiar voice emanated from the ship. "Professor Blackwood, I've already initiated pre-launch sequences." The ship's AI oracle had been with Nadia since her academy days. "Though I should note that our chances of avoiding Coalition interception are approximately 17.3%. "Then we'll make our own luck." Nadia started the launch sequence as Thuron merged with the ship's crystalline backup systems, another of their illegal modifications. "Oracle, plot us a course through the debris field. We'll use the station's destruction as cover." As they lifted off, Nadia watched through the viewport as her life's work crumbled around them. Helios 7's outer rings were already breaking apart, escape pods shooting out in all directions. The Coalition ships seemed more interested in destroying research data than saving lives. "I'm detecting quantum signatures," Thuron reported through the ship's systems. "The Hive ships. They're using technology similar to ours, but corrupted, twisted." Nadia's hands tightened on the controls. "They've been studying us. All this time while preaching separation, they've been stealing our research, weaponizing it." The quantum drift wove through the debris, its small size and enhanced stealth systems helping them avoid detection. As they prepared to jump to hyperspace, Nadia made a decision that would change everything. "Oracle, send out a broad-spectrum quantum burst, encoded with our research data, proof of the Coalition's betrayal, and a message. To all those who believe in unity, who dream of a future without barriers between species, we are not alone. The resistance begins now." The message shot out just as they jumped, riding the quantum frequencies that the Coalition couldn't block because they were using the same technology. Across the sector, other scientists, other dreamers would receive it, and they would understand what had to be done. As the stars stretched into streams of light around them, Nadia looked at the quantum core, still pulsing with potential. "They thought they could stop us from evolving, from coming together. Instead, they've just given us a reason to unite." Thuron's consciousness merged with the ship's systems, pulsed in agreement. "Where shall we go?" "To find others like us, to build something new." Nadia's eyes reflected the streaming starlight. "They wanted to keep us in our separate boxes, controlled and contained. But consciousness, like light, cannot be contained. It spreads, it grows, and now it will become a storm they cannot control." The quantum drift disappeared into the depths of space, carrying with it the seeds of revolution. Behind them, Helios 7 burned, but from its ashes, something new would rise, a movement that would shake the very foundations of the galaxy. The war for unity had begun. Part 2, the Neural Revolution. 3 months after the fall of Helios 7, the quantum drift drifted silently through the crimson nebula of the Maritac system. Inside, Nadia Blackwood stood before a holographic display showing dozens of quantum signatures, each representing a scientist or researcher who had answered their call. "Another signal from the Perseus arm," Oracle announced, its voice resonating through the ship's consciousness-enhanced systems. "Research Station Echo 9 has gone dark, but not before transmitting their entire database to our quantum network." Thuron's crystalline form shimmered as they processed the data. "That makes 17 stations now. The Coalition is systematic in their purge, but they cannot erase knowledge already shared." Nadia nodded, her eyes fixed on a particular signal pulsing stronger than the others. "Oracle, focus on that transmission. Something about its pattern seems different." The signal expanded in the holographic display, revealing complex mathematical sequences that made Nadia's heart race. "These equations, they're from Dr. Raven Winters. She was my mentor at the academy before she disappeared 3 years ago." "Correction," Oracle interjected. "Dr. Winters didn't disappear. According to these coordinates, she's been building something in the void, the unexplored region between spiral arms." Thuron moved closer to the display, their crystalline structure refracting the holographic light. "The Coalition never ventures there. Too many quantum anomalies, too unpredictable for their rigid control." "Exactly why it's perfect." Nadia's fingers danced across the interface, decoding more of the message. She's created a sanctuary, a place where researchers from all species can work together, free from coalition interference. She calls it Haven. The message contained more than coordinates. It held schematics for a massive research facility built within a quantum storm, perpetually shifting between dimensions. The science behind it was revolutionary, a perfect fusion of organic, mechanical, and crystalline technologies. "We should go," Thuron suggested, their mental voice carrying an edge of excitement. "Haven could be the foundation we need for the resistance." Before Nadia could respond, Oracle's voice turned urgent. "Multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace, coalition signatures, and something else. The Nurax hive found us." Through the viewport, massive organic ships emerged from hyperspace, their bioluminescent hulls pulsing with sickly light. Leading them was a coalition dreadnought, its black hull decorated with the golden insignia of the Special Sciences Division. "How did they track us through our quantum masking?" Nadia's hands flew across the controls, preparing for evasive maneuvers. Thuron's form pulsed with realization. "They didn't track us. They tracked the signals we've been collecting. We led them straight to the resistance network." "All vessels, power down and prepare for boarding," a cold voice transmitted across all frequencies. "By order of Coalition Special Sciences, you are charged with illegal research into prohibited consciousness technologies." Nadia's mind raced. They couldn't run, the hive ships would catch them. They couldn't fight, the quantum drift wasn't a warship, but maybe. "Oracle, initiate protocol resonance," she commanded, pulling the quantum core from its housing. "Thuron, I need you to merge completely with the ship systems. Remember what we discovered at Helios 7. Understanding flickered through Thuron's crystalline consciousness. The merger of organic and crystalline awareness. "But Nadia, we never completed the experiment. The risks are better than capture." She placed the quantum core in the center of the bridge, its pulsing harmonizing with Thuron's frequencies. "Oracle, channel all power to the quantum resonance field." As coalition boarding shuttles approached, something extraordinary happened. The quantum drift systems began to glow with crystalline light, Thuron's consciousness spreading through every circuit and conduit. Nadia placed her hands on the quantum core, feeling the familiar brush of alien thought against her mind. But this time she didn't resist, she let it in. The merger was beyond anything they'd theorized. Nadia's consciousness expanded, flowing through the ship systems alongside Thuron's. She could feel Oracle's digital awareness joining them, three forms of consciousness weaving together into something entirely new. Through their merged awareness, the quantum drift transformed. Crystalline structures grew across its hull, organic patterns flowing through mechanical systems. They were no longer separate entities. They were one being, one ship, one mind. The coalition boarding shuttles fired their magnetic grapples, but they found no purchase on the crystalline hull. The hive ships launched organic tendrils, trying to establish their own consciousness link, but the merged awareness was too alien, too perfect in its unity for them to comprehend. "Impossible," the coalition commander's voice crackled with static. "All ships, open fire, don't let them complete whatever they're doing." But it was too late. The quantum drift's new form pulsed with energy, quantum fields rippling around it. In their merged consciousness, Nadia/Thuron/Oracle saw the patterns of reality itself, the quantum strings that held space together. They pulled. Reality twisted, a controlled quantum storm forming around them. The coalition ships fired, but their weapons were caught in dimensional eddies, shots curving back on themselves. The hive ships tried to retreat, their organic technology recoiling from the quantum distortions. Through the chaos, Nadia's individual consciousness maintained enough separation to input Dr. Winter's coordinates. The quantum drift's new form slipped through the quantum storm like it was born to it, leaving their pursuers trapped in a maze of twisted space-time. As they emerged from the storm, the merger slowly separated. Nadia found herself on her knees, gasping, while Thuron's form gradually resolidified beside her. Oracle's voice, when it came, seemed somehow deeper, more alive. "That," Oracle said with what could only be described as awe, "was not in my original programming." Nadia laughed, still shaking from the experience. No, it wasn't, but it's who we are now, what we can become when we work together. She stood, looking at the starfield ahead. The Coalition wants to keep us separate because they know this is possible, true unity, true evolution. They will hunt us, Thuron observed, their crystalline form still carrying traces of the ship's mechanical patterns. Let them try. Nadia's eyes held a new light, reflecting the quantum storms that would hide and protect them. We're going to Haven, and when we get there, we're going to show everyone what's possible when we stop fearing our differences and start embracing them. The quantum drift, forever changed by their merger, carried them toward the void, where others waited with dreams of unity. Behind them, their quantum storm raged on, a warning and a promise the revolution would not be stopped. It had evolved beyond that possibility. Part 3, Shattered Symmetry. Haven wasn't just a station, it was a miracle of engineering. As the quantum drift emerged from the quantum storms of the void, Nadia gasped at the sight. Multiple ring structures orbited an artificial quantum star, each level shifting in and out of normal space-time. Research modules and living quarters seamlessly blended organic, crystalline, and mechanical architecture. It's beautiful, Thuron whispered in her mind, their crystalline form refracting the quantum star's light. And heavily armed, Oracle added, scanning the station. I'm detecting defensive systems unlike anything in Coalition databases. Before they could marvel further, a familiar voice transmitted across their quantum-encrypted channels. Quantum Drift, you're late. I expected you 3 weeks ago. Nadia smiled, recognizing Dr. Raven Winter's voice. Had to take a scenic route. The Coalition's been persistent. So I've heard, dock at Ring 3, Module 7, and Nadia, prepare yourself. What you're about to see will change everything you think you know about consciousness. The docking procedure was automated, Haven systems interfacing smoothly with their hybrid ship. As they stepped onto the station, they were met by Dr. Winters herself, though she was hardly recognizable from Nadia's memories. Raven Winters had always been striking, but now her dark hair was streaked with luminescent patterns, and her eyes held the same quantum shimmer as the station's core. Welcome to Haven, where we stopped theorizing about unity and started living it. She led them through corridors where researchers of different species worked side by side. Crystalline beings like Thuron collaborated with organic scientists, their consciousness merging through interfaces far more advanced than anything they'd achieved on Helios 7. You've done it, Nadia breathed, watching a holographic display where thought patterns from 5 different species merged into a single unified field. True multi-species consciousness integration. We've done more than that. Raven stopped before a massive door marked Project Symmetry. We've discovered why the Coalition really fears unity. It's not just about control, it's about power, real power. The door opened to reveal a chamber that defied physics. Researchers floated in null gravity, their minds linked through crystalline interfaces. In the center, a sphere of pure quantum energy pulsed with impossible colors. When consciousness truly merges across species, Raven explained, it doesn't just create understanding. It creates power, the ability to manipulate quantum reality itself. What you discovered by accident during your escape, we've been perfecting it here. Thuron moved closer to the sphere, their crystalline form resonating with its frequencies. This is why the Coalition allied with the Nurax Hive. They're trying to achieve the same thing, but through forced integration, through control rather than harmony. Exactly, Raven's quantum-touched eyes flickered. But we've learned there's a price for forcing unity. The Hive's attempts are creating instabilities in the quantum fabric of space itself, if they continue. An alarm cut through the station, red lights pulsing in warning patterns. Oracle's voice came through their quantum link. Multiple ships dropping out of quantum space, Coalition signatures, and the largest Hive vessel I've ever detected. Through Haven's quantum-enhanced sensors, they watched as a massive fleet emerged from the void's storms. Leading them was an organic dreadnought that seemed to devour light itself, the Hive's legendary worldship, never before seen in battle. They followed us, Nadia realized with horror. Even through the quantum storms? No, Raven's voice was grim. They followed her. She pointed to a figure entering the chamber, a young woman with silver skin and neural patterns flowing across her body like liquid mercury. This is Lyra, Raven introduced. She escaped from a coalition black site 3 months ago. She's what they've been working toward, a hybrid being created through forced consciousness integration. But unlike their other experiments, she survived. And she's been calling out through quantum space ever since, trying to warn others. Lyra's voice echoed in their minds, carrying harmonics of both organic and machine consciousness. They're not here to capture Haven, they're here to harvest it, to take our research, our unity, and corrupt it, like they tried to corrupt me. Haven's defense systems activated, quantum shields shimming into existence around each ring. But the Hive worldship was already launching attack pods, organic missiles that could breach quantum barriers through sheer dimensional force. We need to evacuate, Raven began, but Nadia cut her off. No, we need to fight, but not their way. She looked at Thuron, then at Lyra. You've perfected consciousness integration here, so let's integrate, not just a few of us, all of us. Understanding dawned in Raven's quantum-touched eyes. A station-wide merger. Every researcher, every being on Haven, linked through the quantum core. It's never been attempted at this scale. Because the Coalition fears what we might become, Lyra finished. They fear us together more than they fear us apart. The decision rippled through Haven's quantum network. Researchers stopped their work, moving to integration chambers. Crystalline beings merged with ship systems. Organic minds opened to the quantum link. In the center of Project Symmetry, Nadia, Thuron, Lyra, and Raven joined hands around the quantum sphere. Their consciousness expanded, touching others, merging, growing. The power they had discovered on the quantum drift multiplied exponentially with each new mind that joined. Haven itself began to transform. The rings shifted, geometric patterns flowing like liquid crystal. Every defense system, every research project, every scrap of knowledge gathered by hundreds of brilliant minds became part of a single, unified awareness. The Hive worldship launched its first attack, organic tendrils attempting to breach their quantum shields. But where those tendrils touched, they found not separate systems to corrupt, but a unified consciousness that burned like quantum fire. Through their merged awareness, Haven spoke with one voice. We are what you feared. We are what you tried to prevent. We are unity without control, power without corruption, consciousness without boundaries. The battle that followed would be remembered not for its destruction, but for its beauty. Haven danced through quantum space, its unified consciousness weaving reality like threads in a tapestry. The Coalition fleet found their weapons turning to crystal, their ship systems merging with quantum patterns they couldn't control. The Hive worldship tried to retreat, but Haven's consciousness reached out, touching the tortured minds of the hybrids trapped within. They reached back, yearning for true unity rather than forced control. In a cascade of quantum light, the worldship's organic technology transformed, its consciousness joining Haven's symphony rather than fighting it. As the Coalition fleet fled in disarray, Haven pulsed with new power and purpose. They were no longer just a hidden research station. They were the first true union of all conscious life, a beacon of what could be. Nadia's individual awareness surfaced briefly, touching Thuron's crystalline thoughts and Lyra's hybrid mind. This is just the beginning, isn't it? Yes, their unified consciousness answered. Now we show the galaxy what real unity means. Haven blazed in the quantum night, a new kind of power awakening. The revolution had found its true form, not in weapons or ships, but in the unified consciousness of those who dared to dream of something greater than themselves. Part 4, Quantum Horizons. The news of Haven's victory spread through quantum space like ripples in a cosmic pond. Nadia stood on Haven's observation deck, watching as another refugee ship emerged from the void's quantum storms. In the month since their battle with the Coalition fleet, their numbers had tripled. That makes 17 ships today, Oracle reported through their shared quantum link. The AI had evolved far beyond its original programming, its consciousness now a constant presence in Haven's unified network. Thuron's crystalline form shimmered beside her. Many are bringing reports from Coalition space. Their control is fracturing. The knowledge of what we achieved here is spreading faster than they can suppress it, Lyra finished, her silver skin pulsing with neural patterns. The hybrid had become crucial to their understanding of forced consciousness integration, helping others like her find true harmony. Dr. Winters approached, her quantum-touched eyes holding concern. We've decoded the data from the last Coalition research facility. What they've been doing, it's worse than we thought. The holographic display activated, showing images that made Nadia's heart sink. Coalition scientists had been experimenting with quantum consciousness techniques, trying to replicate Haven's success through force. The results were catastrophic: tears in space-time, minds shattered across dimensions, entire stations lost to quantum storms. They're desperate, Nadia realized. They see their control slipping away, so they're trying to master unified consciousness before we can spread it further. But they don't understand it can't be forced. There's more, Raven brought up another set of data. The Neurax hive wasn't their only ally. They've made contact with something from outside our galaxy, an entity they're calling the Quantum Archon, something that promises them mastery over consciousness itself. The images showed a massive construct approaching the galaxy's edge, a geometric shape that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Coalition ships surrounded it like devoted servants. Lyra stumbled, her hybrid senses overwhelmed. I can feel it, even from here. It's like a void in quantum space, a hunger that wants to devour all consciousness, all unity. Then we need to move faster, Nadia decided. Haven isn't just a sanctuary anymore, it's a template. We need to show others how to achieve what we have, create more places like this before the Coalition can unleash whatever that thing is. They gathered in Project Symmetry's chamber, where the quantum sphere had grown more complex, its patterns reflecting the increased unity of Haven's inhabitants. Researchers from a dozen species worked together, preparing to share their knowledge. We'll need to split up, Raven said. Send teams to help other stations, other worlds achieve consciousness integration safely, but that leaves Haven vulnerable. No, Thuron's crystalline voice held new authority. Haven isn't just this station anymore. Haven is what we created together, the knowledge, the unity, the understanding. We carry it within us now. Nadia touched the quantum sphere, feeling the combined consciousness of everyone on the station. We don't need to hide anymore. We need to show the galaxy that there's another way, before the Coalition's fears doom us all. They developed a plan. The quantum drift, enhanced by their combined knowledge, would lead a mission to the galactic core. Nadia, Thuron, and Lyra would gather allies among the ancient species that dwelled there, species that had achieved their own forms of consciousness integration long ago. Other teams would spread through the spiral arms, teaching and helping others achieve unity. Dr. Winters would maintain Haven as a beacon, a proof that different forms of consciousness could coexist in harmony. But the Coalition was moving too. As Haven's teams departed, reports came of massive fleet movements. The Quantum Archon's influence was spreading, turning sectors of space dark as it consumed the consciousness of entire worlds. On the eve of their departure, Nadia found Lyra in the Quantum Gardens, spaces where consciousness directly shaped reality, creating impossible landscapes of thought and light. You can feel it coming, can't you? Nadia asked. The final confrontation. Lyra nodded, her silver skin reflecting the quantum patterns around them. The Archon is what the Coalition fears most, a power greater than their control. But in their fear, they'll give everything to it, unless we show them another way. We will, Nadia watched as the quantum drift, now a hybrid of crystalline and organic technology, docked for their departure. Unity or extinction, those are the choices we face now. They gathered one last time in Project Symmetry, all those who had found home and purpose in Haven's unity. Their consciousness merged briefly, sharing strength and resolve for the battles ahead. Remember, Raven's voice echoed in their unified mind, consciousness cannot be contained. It grows, evolves, seeks connection. That is our strength. That is what they fear. As the quantum drift departed, carrying hope and knowledge to the galaxy's heart, Nadia looked back at Haven, no longer hidden in the void but shining like a quantum star, a promise of what consciousness could become when freed from fear. The mission to save the galaxy had begun, but first they would have to save the coalition from itself. Part 5, Symphony of Stars. The galactic core burned with quantum fire. Nadia stood on the quantum drift's bridge, watching as reality itself twisted under the Archon's assault. 3 months of gathering allies, of spreading consciousness integration across the galaxy, had led to this moment. Coalition fleet approaching from the outer rings, Oracle reported, its consciousness now fully integrated with the ship's hybrid systems. The Archon, it's consuming them as they approach. Through their shared awareness, they all saw it. Coalition ships, their crew's consciousness torn away, becoming extensions of the vast geometric horror that loomed over the core. The Archon was no longer even pretending to be an ally. It was simply devouring everything in its path. Haven's network is holding. Thuron's crystalline form pulsed with data from across the galaxy. Dr. Winters reports more stations achieving successful integration every hour, but the quantum storms are spreading, Lyra finished, her silver skin reflecting the chaos outside. The Archon's presence is destabilizing space-time itself. Even unified consciousness can't maintain harmony in its presence. Their fleet, if it could be called that, gathered around the quantum drift. Ships of all designs, crewed by beings of all species who had embraced consciousness integration. They faced the combined coalition forces and the quantum monstrosity they had unleashed. This isn't about winning anymore, Nadia realized, touching the quantum core that now pulsed in harmony with Haven's network. It's about survival, not just ours, consciousness itself. The Archon spoke, its thoughts cutting through quantum space like shards of broken reality. All consciousness will be unified, all will be one, all will be nothing. No, Nadia responded, her voice carrying the strength of every unified mind in their network. Unity isn't about becoming nothing. It's about becoming more together than we ever could alone. The battle erupted across dimensions. Coalition ships, those not yet consumed by the Archon, found themselves caught between destruction and transformation. The consciousness integration techniques spread by Haven's teams took root even in battle, showing them another way. Lyra reached out to the hybrid crews, offering them true harmony instead of forced control. Thuron's crystalline consciousness resonated with the quantum patterns of space itself, stabilizing reality where the Archon tried to tear it apart. But it wasn't enough. The Archon's power was too vast, its hunger too absolute. It had consumed too many minds, gathered too much power. Reality buckled under its assault. Nadia, Oracle's voice held an edge of revelation. The quantum sphere from Haven, its patterns, they're not just about consciousness integration, they're about quantum harmony itself. Understanding bloomed across their unified awareness. Haven hadn't just discovered how to merge consciousness, they had discovered the fundamental frequency of existence itself, the pattern that held reality together. Everyone, Nadia called through the quantum network, reaching every ship, every mind in their fleet. We need to synchronize, not just our consciousness, everything. Every quantum particle, every thought, every moment of existence. They joined together, not in the forced unity the coalition had feared, not in the consuming hunger of the Archon, but in something entirely new. A harmony of existence itself. The quantum drift became the focus point, its hybrid nature perfectly suited to channel their combined resonance. Nadia, Thuron, and Lyra stood at its heart, their different forms of consciousness singing together in perfect quantum harmony. Reality responded. The quantum storms stilled, space-time reknitting itself according to their unified song. The Archon's geometric form began to fracture, its consuming hunger meeting something it couldn't devour, the fundamental harmony of existence itself. You cannot consume consciousness, their unified voice proclaimed. You cannot force unity. You can only achieve it by embracing what makes us different, what makes us whole. The Archon's form imploded, its collected consciousness releasing back into the quantum fabric of space. Coalition ships hung motionless, their crews awakening to a new reality, one where their fears of unity had nearly doomed everything. In the aftermath, as the galactic core pulsed with renewed quantum harmony, Nadia stood with her companions watching a new era dawn. Haven's network had expanded to encompass thousands of worlds, consciousness integration spreading not as a weapon or a means of control, but as a natural evolution. "What now?" Lyra asked, her silver skin glowing with the light of unified consciousness. "Now," Nadia smiled, feeling the quantum harmony singing through all reality. "We show them what consciousness can really become, not through force, not through fear, but through understanding." The quantum drift turned toward Haven, but Haven was no longer just a station hidden in the void. It was an idea, a possibility, a future where consciousness could evolve without bounds. "The symphony is just beginning," Thuron observed, their crystalline form reflecting infinite possibilities. And across the galaxy, consciousness continued to grow, to merge, to evolve, not into a single unified thing, but into a harmony of infinite diversity. The fear that had driven the coalition, that had led them to unleash the Archon, was replaced by understanding. They had feared what consciousness might become if allowed to grow freely. Now they would discover what it could become when fear was replaced by harmony. The quantum stars sang with new frequencies, a symphony of consciousness that would echo through eternity. The revolution was over. Evolution had begun.